Hi everyone, today we're going to be looking at how to create a fillable form using Microsoft Office Word 2007. Now before we do this, we must ensure that we have the developer tab enabled along the ribbon. To show the developer tab on the ribbon, we click on the Office button, then we select the Word Options button, and we ensure that the Show Developer tab in the ribbon box is checked. Once you have checked that, click OK and we're ready to go. Today we're going to be looking at how to create a student registration form. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to set our line spacing to single by selecting Ctrl A, go to the paragraph section, click on the paragraph icon, settings icon, and then we're going to select the line spacing, which is single. We're going to set the before and after to 0. Check the box that says don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. Click OK. That will ensure that your paragraph or line spacing is set to single. Now I'm going to also set the page layout to, we're going to set the margins to narrow, because sometimes it's difficult for the different control options to hold on the page. So when I set the page margin to narrow, most of it will hold. We're going to go ahead and center align our text, and we're going to type in student registration form. Now we're not going to do anything fancy. We're just going to ensure that we are able to see how to use the different controls. Now if you're going to create a student registration form, automatically you're going to be asking the student for their personal data. So I'm going to have a section here called personal data, and in the personal data section I'm going to be asking the student for things like their first name, their last name, middle name, and things like that. Now given that you included the developer tab in the ribbon, you can see it along this area. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to show you the areas that we're going to be focusing on. We're going to be focusing on the controls section. Specifically, we're going to be using the drop-down list control, the date picker. We're going to also be going to the legacy tools, and we're going to be using the checkbox, text box, label, option button, and we're also going to be using the image control as well as the command button. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using the label to label the different option or controls, and then I'm going to put the controls under or beside those labels. I find that the controls tend to work a little bit nicer, or they align nicer when you use a label that is here along with the control. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a label, and I'm going to either right click and go to properties, or click on the label, click on properties here, and I'm going to set the caption. I'm going to change the caption here from label 1 to first name. Then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to tab over, and I'm going to put in a second label, and that one is going to be, the caption for it is going to be middle name. Tab over again, tab over 2 times again, and this time the label is going to be last name. And we press enter after we type each label name. I'm also going to put in gender along this side, because it should be able to hold. So we're going to go ahead again and put in the gender label. In the caption, we're going to change it from label 4 to gender, and we're going to leave the first row. So for the first time, we have first name, middle name, last name, and we have gender. I'm going to go into the next row, and I'm going to put in the controls. So for the next row, I'm going to be using text boxes for first name, middle name, and last name, but I'm going to mix it up a bit when we get to the gender, and you'll see when I get there. So first I'm going to position my cursor where I want, which is right underneath first name. I'm going to go to the legacy tools icon, I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to select this icon which says text box. Put in the text box. Now for the first name, we know that it's not going to hold in this small box, so I'm going to extend the box by widening it. Also, I'm going to set the max length, because the max length will determine how many characters the user is allowed to enter into the box. I'm going to set it to say 15. Nobody's first name is really longer than 15. Now if I wanted to change the color when the user typed, I could select for color, and I'm going to select blue so that when a person types their name, it shows up as blue. It is not necessary, but it is an option that you have. I'm going to go ahead to the end of the first text box. I'm going to press tab, and I'm going to insert another text box, and this one is going to be for the middle name. Same procedure, widen it to fit the middle name, and then we're going to change the fore color to blue, and I'm going to do the same thing again for the last name. Now we're down to the gender. We have two good options to use. I could choose to use a checkbox, or I could choose to use an option button. So what I'm going to do, I am going to be using the option button, and we have two genders. You're either male or you're female. So I'm going to change the caption for the option button to male, and you will notice that this box is very wide, so I'm going to adjust it by narrowing the width of it, and I'm going to click beside it, and I'm going to put a second, just put a space, and I'm going to put in a second option button, and that one now is going to be for female. If you notice it has gone all the way to the second row, I'm just going to change it first to female, press enter, and then I'm going to adjust the width to see if it is going to return to the second row. Okay, so now it has returned to the second row. It will now hold. So now we have the first name, middle name, last name, and gender. The next thing that we will want to put in for any person would be their title, and I don't want to put the title in the next row, so I'm going to bring down those first two rows, and I'm going to put the title here. So I'm going to put in a label, and I'm going to change the caption to title, right? And then I'm going to adjust the width of this box. I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to put in two check boxes, or not two check boxes, about 3 or so. So I'm going to put in the first one, and I'm going to change it to the caption to Mr. And I'm going to adjust the width of the checkbox because we don't need it to be so wide. Put about another space between it and the next one, and we're going to put in Mrs. as the caption. Same procedure, adjust the width of the box, and I'm going to put in another one. This time I'm going to use Miss. And of course there are other titles that we could use. I'm going to put in one more, and that one is going to be for doctor. To say if a person is a doctor, then they can put in doctor as their title. So now we have title being Mr., Mrs., Miss, or Doctor. Now, one of the other things that we could put in is the contact details. So I'm going to type contact details. I'm going to press enter to go into the next row. Now, if you're going to contact anybody, chances are you're going to contact them either using their address information or their telephone or email. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the addressing information, but of course I'm going to go ahead and use the labels as well as the text boxes. I'm going to put in text boxes for street, town, and then I'm going to use a different control for parish. Given that we already learned how to use the text boxes, I'm going to put them in quickly and then bring back the video. Okay, earlier when we did the first name, middle name, and last name, for the first name text box I had included the max length as 15, but I had not done it for the middle name and last name. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to put 15 for the middle name and also 15 for the last name. So we have our street text box. I'm going to put the max length to 25, set the one for the town to 25 as well. I'm going to just adjust the box the position of the box. I'm going to bring it back so it is in line with the heading or the label, and then I'm going to go over to where Parish is. Now notice there is no control on the Parish. That is because we're going to be using a different control, and that control that I plan to use is the drop down list. So position your cursor underneath Parish and click on the drop down list icon. Now you notice here that it says choose an item. I'm going to click on it and go to properties. Now in the properties section, it allows you to add the values that you want to display inside of Parish. So we want to keep the choose an item option here to tell the person who is filling out the form to choose an item from the list, right? I'm going to modify to say choose or select a Parish. And then I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to add the individual parishes. So we're going to start from the western end of the island, and we're going to put Hanover, St. James. Click on add again. Trelawney. And we're going to continue doing that until we have added all the parishes. I'm going to add St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, and lastly Westmoreland. Just going to double check to ensure that we have 14 parishes. Okay, so now that we have added all 14 parishes, we're going to go ahead and click OK. So we have our parishes set. Now, additionally, if we're going to collect student registration information, we would want to have access to what the student's email is. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in the label for email. We're going to change it in the properties section and put email address. And then I just realized now that we did not put in anything for the person's date of birth. So I'm going to go back up to the top here where we have some space, and I'm going to put in the label for date of birth. Date of birth, and then I'm going to put in the box, or what we call the date picker. So we're going to be using the date picker, which is this icon here, for the date of birth, and we're going to place it right there. Now we're going to go back down to where we have email address, and we're going to put in a text box for the person to enter their email address. We're going to widen it so that there is enough space. And last we're going to put now is the cell phone number or the telephone number. We're going to use two labels, so change that to home, just put number there, and then I'm going to put in the text box. Make this a little short, narrower, and then I'm going to put in the text box. just leave enough space for it, and then I'm going to put a space there, 2 spaces or so, and I'm going to put another label and put cell number. I'm going to narrow that box, and I'm going to put one more text box beside that and leave it. So we have the contact details now. Now if a student is registering for school, the school may want to find out that student's qualifications, right? Now there's more than one way we could do it. We could use a list box, we could use a drop down form field, and so on and so forth. Let's just say that the registration form is for persons who would have completed maybe primary education, high school education, university. We want to ask them to select the highest level of education that they have had. So I'm going to put in a label here for level of education, or highest educational level, and I'm going to make this box a little bit bigger and make it a little wider as well. Don't want it to be too narrow. And then beside that now I'm going to put a drop down list, and we're going to add to that. So we're going to add first thing primary, then secondary, and then we're going to add the last one, tertiary. Now I'm going to put in a table here for the subjects received at the secondary level. I'm going to insert a table. Most universities or colleges ask for 5 subjects. I'm going to allow the person to enter at least 6 subjects, and allow them to also enter the grade that they got for each of those subjects. So we insert a table, and I'm going to put the heading subjects, use the tab key to go to the next cell, and we're going to have them put the grade on this side. So I'm going to adjust the width of this column because we only want grades 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever grade the person got. So the persons will be allowed to type their subject here, and they're going to be able to select their grades from here. Now, in order for them to select their grades from the grade section, we're going to be using a drop down form field, which is this icon here. It is very much similar to your drop down list box. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to put in all the drop down form fields one time. So we go to Legacy Tools, click on Drop Down Form Field, and we're going to do that for all of them. And I'm going to go ahead and set the properties. Now I'm going to say type select one or select grade, right? And from this, we're going to add that by clicking on add. I'm going to put a 1 or a capital letter I, and then the next one is going to be range 2. Next one is going to be range 3, range 4, range 5, and then range 6. And click OK. And we're going to do the same thing for all the others. So I'm going to do those quickly and then come back. Now that I have put in all the grades where the person is going to be able to select their grade, we're going to put some controls in these areas for the persons to type in their information. So you're going to go ahead and go back to the legacy tools, and I'm going to be using the text form field option by clicking on it like that. Now if you have done the control already more than once already, for example this, I did not necessarily need to click in here and type over the different grades in the list. You can simply click on it, copy, right click and copy, and then paste it in the different areas. So I'm going to do the same thing for this. I'm going to set the properties for this first though. Set the properties to regular text, default text. The length is not going to be unlimited. I'm going to set the length to say about say 30, so the user cannot type anything more than 30. Now what if I wanted the person to type the subjects in uppercase only? No matter what, I can do is set the text format to uppercase. So if the person even types lowercase letters, it will always go back to uppercase. And I'm going to click OK. Now I want the same thing for all the other rows. I'm going to copy it, right click, copy, right click in the next space and paste. And I'm going to show you when I'm finished that even though you're copying the control and pasting it, the same features that you would have wanted in the first one to be in the others is going to appear. So I'm going to click in this last one and go to properties, and you notice that the max length has been placed to 30, as well as the text format has been placed as uppercase. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to also put a label up here for this. I'm going to bring this down a little bit, put in a label, and I'm going to type in subjects attained or academic achievement. I'm going to change the label to academic achievement. Academic achievement. Going to widen this because it's falling off. Academic achievement. By the way, you could also bold or even adjust it. You can adjust the formatting of your labels. I am going to leave this as it is right in the corner here, but I'm going to add some buttons at the bottom. So I'm going to insert about 2 or 3 buttons, going back to the developer tab, and I'm going to insert 3 buttons. Alright, let me just do 2. Alright, so for the first button, I'm going to click on it, and we're going to make that button, we're going to say that the button is, or the command button, we want it to say clear, as in clear out what you just entered from the entire field, right, from the entire form. Then I'm going to do the next one. This one is going to be a submit button. I'm going to change the button colors to the text. I'm going to leave the text to be blue. And I'm going to leave those. I'm also going to fix up the form now, so I'm going to bold the heading. I'm going to change the font size to about 22. I'm going to change the text to Times New Roman. I'm going to bold this heading and change it to font size 14. I'm going to set out the academic achievement, and I'm going to leave that for the time being. Personal data, contact details, size 14, bold, I'm going to also put education here, bold it, font size 14, and you could choose to make your form look a bit more interesting by putting in some lines across like that. So I'm going to set the font size here to 14 so we get the same thick line, and bold it as well. We're going to do the same thing for contact details. You could alternatively put in a watermark. I'm going to move over the buttons a bit. I'm going to use the tab key to make it easier. Somewhere in the middle thereabouts. Okay. You can also set the font color to something else. And I'm going to change mine to blue. Of course, it's your form. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to go to the internet and find a picture. So for example, this was the logo for the school. I'm going to open a new tab and I'm going to borrow this image. So I'm going to, no, I don't want to use this because it has a picture. It has words at the bottom of it, so that would not be a good idea. I'm going to use this one instead. So I'm going to save this image, and we're going to just save it to the documents folder. I'm going to save this to the documents folder, and then I am going to go back now to the word processing file, and I'm going to insert the watermark. So we're going to go to page layout and select watermark, and I'm going to say custom watermark, and I'm going to go ahead and select picture watermark. Then I'm going to click on the select picture button, and I'm going to go to the documents folder because that was where the file was. I think that is the file that we just downloaded. Click insert, and we want it to stay washed out. We don't want it to be too bright. And we're going to click OK. And if you notice, if you look in the background of this, you can see the watermark. Let me make this the page a little smaller so that you can see everything in the background. Okay. I'm going to center this table because it looks a bit odd where it is. So I'm going to go to table properties. I'm going to center the table. Click OK. I'm going to click here on this one, and I'm going to tab it over, bring it in the center a bit so it looks a bit tidier, it looks neater. I'm going to bring this down a little just to set things on the page in a little neater. And if you wanted to put a border, you could go ahead and put in a simple border, nothing too fancy, around the page. And just ensure that when you put the border around the page that you do not have anything falling off or anything that is difficult to see. Otherwise you will have to make the adjustments as is necessary. Of course, if it's a form, you're going to want to put some instructions. So type instructions, and you can give instructions. So you're going to ask the person to fill in their details in the spaces provided and check the boxes where appropriate and select the option buttons. Alright, let me change this. Please fill in your details in the space provided. Check, not and, check the boxes and select the option button where appropriate. Of course, this instruction is not really complete, but you can go ahead and create your own instructions based on how you want your form to be filled in. I'm going to go ahead and bold that. I'm going to change the font style to Times New Roman, and change the font size to font size 12, and we haven't fallen off the page. Good. Bring this down a little bit, and well, it would be good if we had our logo somewhere up here, so we're going to use back the same. We're going to put the name of the institution, for example, Harbor View High School, and I'm going to put this in the header of the page. So I'm going to double click at the top of the page and type Harbor View High School. Let me not say Harbor View Community College. Harbor View Community College. I'm going to bold that. I'm going to center it. I'm going to change the font size to about 22. I'm going to change the font style to Times New Roman, or I'm going to do Edwardian script. But I'm going to make the font size a little bit bigger than that. Harbor View College. And we're going to ensure that the line spacing is still single, and we're going to check that box right there. Additionally, I'm going to put in the logo for Harbor View College. I'm going to change this back to 11, and then I'm going to go to insert picture. We're going to use the picture that we downloaded earlier. I'm going to make this picture a little bit smaller. We don't want it so large. Make it even a little smaller. We don't want the things to be falling off the page. So if you find that that is the case, you're going to just adjust the distances between the items on your page. So now I'm going to remove the extra spaces so that the two buttons fall back onto the page. Then I'm going to go ahead and put in the address information. So I'm going to bring this up a little. I'm not going to put in the address information, but if you had to put in your address and telephone number and things like that, you could go ahead and put in that information. We're still falling off the page, so okay, so we're not falling off the page anymore, so we're good. So I'm going to zoom out so that you can see what the form looks like at the end. Now that you are finished with your form, you're going to now finish up the electronic filling in section of the form. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to click on protect document. We're going to close this properties window, click on protect document, and we're going to select restrict formatting and editing. And then we're going to, in the first area here, we're going to say edit restrictions. Under the second one, we're going to check the box, and then we're going to drop down the no changes section here and select filling in forms. After we select filling in forms, we're going to take it off design mode because we're no longer designing, and we're going to say yes, start enforcing protection. You don't need to put a password on your application form or on your form unless it is absolutely necessary. We're going to click OK, and you can go ahead and test out your form. If you notice that I click in the box here, the check box appears. I'm going to make the screen a little bit bigger. The check appears. If I were to, well, if you notice my form now has the E and the E here cut off, I'm going to have to go back and fix that. But for the parish, you can choose an item, for example Hanover. For the grade here, I can select a grade 1, and the subject that I had was, say, information technology, and you go ahead and fill in all the rest of the information. Of course, the buttons don't really work, but you get an idea of how to insert the buttons. We're going to go back. So in order to fix the errors or the challenges that we have here, I'm going to stop protection. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to adjust the width of this box. So I'm going to select design mode again so that we can go and do the editing. I'm going to just widen this box a little, and this one a little as well, so that it doesn't fall off again. Right, and that should do it. And there we have it, creating a student registration form using Microsoft Office Word 2007, and that's it.